So we're back on Kotaku again. I did a video on their PlayStation 5 review on Friday because it was one of the worst reviews that I've probably ever read. It's quite funny, actually. Some of the reasons that you shouldn't buy a PlayStation 5 include the economy and healthcare and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like it was hilarious. Probably the worst review I've ever read. I always like to point out when I do a video on Kotaku, I'll point out again that they probably have a salary for all of their employees, like a combined salary of $1 million, because people make $50,000 to start there. To start, okay? I always like to point out that I have no idea how they make money because nobody takes them seriously because of reviews like this one. So who's paying for Kotaku to keep going? I don't know. I highly doubt they make any money at all. But let's move on. So they've already written a terrible review for the PlayStation 5. It almost seems like they wanted to figure out, how do I top that? We've already written a terrible PlayStation 5 review. How do we top that cringe? Well, let me show you. Here's Xbox Series X and why you shouldn't buy one. Now, this isn't actually a review. I want to point that out. This is a reason to not buy an Xbox Series X. Why? Because it has too many holes. Horrifying holes.
What a story, Mark.
So, apparently, if you have trypophobia, you should not purchase an Xbox Series X. Now, this is apparently a real thing. Let me give you an example. They're not going to include any triggering imagery in this review, but I'm going to go ahead and show you. So, the closest thing for an example to trypophobia, which is an aversion to irregular patterns, I believe. The biggest example that people would probably use is this. So if you see right here, you remember this picture was going around. I believe this was fake. It's this weird thing. If you remember, one of the things that people were doing is they were actually photoshopping this image into like people's arms and stuff. It was really gross. And then it got debunked like that people were photoshopping this. A lot of people thought it was like some weird like MRSA or something. Which MRSA is very gross if you've ever seen it. But anyway, trypophobia is an aversion to the sight or of irregular patterns or clusters of small holes or bumps. It is not officially recognized as a mental disorder, but may be diagnosed as a specific phobia if you have excessive fear and distress if you see it and that occurs. But anyway, that's it. Now, if you go and you look at an actual, it's funny, there's no pictures of the Xbox Series X in that article because it's triggering. Yes, people are actually putting a trigger warning now on Xbox Series X images. I think that's hilarious. So if you look at this image right here, you can kind of see that, yeah. And I got to be honest, when I saw the first pictures of the Xbox Series X, I did kind of have that thought of that picture, like, that did pop up to me. So yeah, I got to say it's not the most pleasing looking design, but they do it for a reason. And that's of course for cooling. But imagine like being fearful of it. Like you're scared of the design. Well, look no further. You can find those writers over at Kotaku. Over at Kotaku. Look, there's not one picture in this whole article on the Xbox Series X. Oh, okay, sorry. There is right here, but they put a trigger warning emoji over it. That's pretty hilarious. So, hard-hitting, groundbreaking journalism over at Kotaku. Who would have thought? 2 negative articles on the upcoming systems. Now, well, I hope they let this person write the review for the system so I can get another cringy review from Kotaku. This is a serious article. Like half of it's trying to explain trypophobia, and then the other half is the writer trying to figure out, can I buy one? I don't know how I'll buy one because, well, I don't want the triggering texture to come after me. So maybe I'll stuff it in my entertainment center and make sure I can't see it or something. It's really strange. And then the author challenges Xbox to follow Sony's lead because, well, that doesn't have crazy holes in it. This is a real review, a real article from Kotaku. You see what I'm saying? Like, who funds Kotaku? Let's go ahead and read a little bit of it. I knew the Xbox Series X was going to be trouble the minute its design was revealed. The holes are just big and prominent enough to trigger a response. The Series S is a bit better, since the holes on its speaker are small enough to be obscured when viewed at a distance. Up close, it's still slightly unsettling. But the annoyance factor is more negligible. My response to all of these holes is not very strong, so I can continue to work at Kotaku without gagging every 5 minutes as our coverage of the cursed console increases as we get closer to release date. But I don't think I could keep the new Xboxes in my home without prolonged exposure making me want to throw the console away. Imagine, one of the problems going on today is that people have so many, they give themselves so many crazy phobias and mental problems. Now, this is already not recognized by the APA. So they don't recognize this, but it is kind of an issue, and it's encouraged. Like, so now this person will probably not have to do any Xbox Series X coverage, which is kind of messed up considering it's a video game outlet. But hey, you're making and I also want to point out that the person who wrote this makes at least $50,000 a year. There's some people out there, I would imagine, that don't make that much money that watch my channel. And I bet that probably pisses you off a little bit. And you probably do really hard work. You probably do backbreaking work. And you're not making that much money. But you can write articles about holes in the Xbox One or the Xbox Series X triggering you and make $50,000 a year. That's the world that we live in. So that's pretty much it. This is nowhere near as funny as the election article that was disguised as a as a PlayStation 5 review. But it's still funny, and I still like to point it out because I'm blown away by Kotaku. I'm blown away by the budget for their salary and how much little money they break in. I am really fascinated by this company and how they manage to stay afloat when no gamers care about them. Like, why is there so much money funneled into Kotaku? Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Also, if you would, please share and like the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.